All right, let's talk about something we all have to deal with every single day: other people. And ourselves, for that matter. Today, we're going to dive deep into what really makes us all tick, using Robert Greene's incredible book, The Concise Laws of Human Nature, as our map. I mean, of course you have, right? We all have. You think you've got a handle on someone, a coworker, a friend, maybe even your partner, and then boom, they do something that makes absolutely no sense. Or, let's be honest, sometimes you catch yourself acting on some weird impulse, and you're left wondering, where on earth did that come from? It's that feeling of confusion we all know so well. And that really gets to the heart of the problem. Robert Greene argues that most of us are just skating on the surface of life. We're reacting emotionally to what people say, what they do, the face they show the world, and because we're only seeing that top layer, we're left totally vulnerable, constantly confused, and just blindsided by what's really going on underneath, in them. And yeah, in ourselves too. Okay, so let's try to frame this a different way. What if it's not all just random chaos? What if it's more like a giant, fascinating puzzle? And the cool thing about puzzles? Once you start to understand the rules, you can actually begin to put the pieces together. I love this quote because it completely flips the script. Think about it. When someone does something mean or just bafflingly dumb, our first reaction is to get angry, right? To get offended. But what if you didn't? What if you just looked at it and thought, that's a new piece of data. It's not an attack on you. It's just another clue about how people work. That simple shift in perspective, man, it changes everything. And that's really the big promise here. What if you had a kind of code book for people, a way to actually decipher their behavior? Because it's not random. There are patterns, there are predictable laws that we all operate by, whether we realize it or not. And Greene's work is basically handing us that very code book. So where do we start cracking this code? Well, surprisingly, the first place to look isn't at other people. It's right here, inside ourselves. Because if you really want to understand anyone else, you've got to start by getting to know that stranger living inside your own head. This gets us to what Greene calls the law of irrationality. See, we all love to think we're the calm, rational driver of our own lives, making logical choices. But the reality, there's this emotional self in the passenger seat, and it is constantly grabbing the steering wheel. It yanks us toward ideas that soothe our ego, that confirm what we already believe, and half the time we don't even notice it's happening. Okay, so how do you get your hands back on the wheel? Well, Greene lays out a pretty straightforward three-step path. First, you just have to recognize the biases. Start noticing all the little ways your feelings are coloring your thoughts day to day. Second, beware the inflaming factors, those hot buttons that trigger a big emotional reaction. And third, you actively start to enact strategies to strengthen your rational mind. This means consciously taking a step back, asking, is there another way to see this? And thinking about the long game before you just react. And let's get real about some of these biases, because they're everywhere. Confirmation bias? I mean, just look at your social media feed. We're all hunting for stuff that proves we're right. Superiority bias? Oh yeah, we all walk around thinking, well, I'm more rational and ethical than most people. And the blame bias, it's a classic, right? It's so much easier to point the finger at someone else when things go wrong than to actually look at our own part in it. Just seeing these in action is a huge first step. And this Nietzsche quote just nails it. When we trust our feelings, we're often just following old programming, stuff we picked up from our family, our culture, our grandfather, so to speak. It's not some pure divine truth. The real power, the gods within us, is our ability to use reason and our actual lived experience. We have to cultivate that, not just go with every gut feeling. All right, so once we start to get a bit of a handle on our own internal chaos, we can finally turn that powerful lens outward. Now we can start to see what's really going on with the people we interact with every single day. This brings us to the law of role-playing, which is just fascinating. The bottom line is everyone, and I mean everyone, is wearing a mask. We are all actors on a stage, projecting the character that we think will serve us best. The humble employee, the super confident boss, the endlessly interested friend. But behind that carefully polished mask, there's a whole mess of reality simmering away: insecurity, envy, hidden feelings and desires. The real skill is learning to spot the cracks in that mask. So how do you spot them? It's all in the nonverbal cues. These are the little tells that give the game away. You've got to be a detective. That tiny split-second flash of a glare, that's a micro-expression, and it's leaking pure, undiluted anger. That smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, totally fake. And if you're talking to someone and their body is angled toward the door, trust me, their mind has already left the building. These aren't just little habits, they're pure data, betraying the mask. And this leads to another huge idea, summed up by this killer quote from Heraclitus. Character is destiny. It's so simple, but so deep. It's not about one single choice. It's about the deep-seated patterns of our character that really steer the ship of our lives. What this means for us is pretty profound. You have to stop seeing people's actions as one-offs. You have to start looking for the pattern. Because people never do something just once. That friend who flakes on you every time things get tough, they're gonna do it again. That coworker who subtly steals your ideas in meetings, they're gonna do it again. It's not a mistake, it's their character, and it compels them to repeat the same script over and over. So with all this talk of masks and patterns, you might be thinking, wow, this sounds really cynical. But that's not the point at all. This isn't about distrusting everyone. It's about gaining a whole new level of awareness, a kind of social superpower that can completely change the way you move through the world. And the payoff here is huge. I mean, really life-changing. You start to become this calm, strategic observer of life instead of just getting tossed around by emotional drama. You get so much better at judging character, which helps you sidestep toxic people. You finally get the tools to change your own frustrating patterns. And here's the best part. It actually lets you form deeper, more real bonds with people because you're seeing them for who they truly are. But look, this isn't just some interesting trivia you read about. It's not a passive thing. It's a skill, like learning an instrument or a sport. It takes practice. It takes actively watching people. And it takes a ton of honesty, especially with yourself. It's really about becoming a master of the art of being human. So here's your challenge. As you go about the rest of your day, just try to notice. You've got a key to the code book now. What masks are people wearing? What patterns can you spot in them and in yourself? What are you going to see now that you know what to look for?